friends, how's it going? It's me, Betty Jean. Today we are finishing off this eyeshadow palette collection series, I guess I could call it. I've already done two videos, one where I talk about my mini or small eyeshadow palettes, which I determined to be eyeshadow palettes with 6 shades or less. We did my medium eyeshadow palette, which for me is between 7 to 15 shades, and today we're going to talk about my large palettes. I thought about breaking it up into large and extra large, but then I realized I only have 2 palettes that I personally consider to be in the extra large category. For me, large palettes are anything between 16 to 23 shades. Once it hits like 24 plus, that's when I consider it an extra large palette. I'm not a huge extra large palette person. I'm not even a huge large palette person, but I do have some that I really love here. But it's been fun breaking up my collection and chatting about my palettes with you. I started this series basically just because I had a lot of people requesting I do another eyeshadow palette collection and declutter video, but it just wasn't quite time yet. I just did one back in like March or April. I'm gonna do another one in like end of November, early December, so stay tuned for like an entire full eyeshadow palette collection and declutter. I'm really excited about that, but this was just a way to kind of show you guys my collection again, but in a different sort of way, because I felt like it would be too redundant too soon. I did film this makeup look, of course. It should already be up on my Instagram by the time this video goes up. My plugs are from Love Kills Boutique. I do not know where this choker's from because it was a gift, and this wig I got from a local wig shop. I don't know what the brand is. Anyway, I think I got all of the intro stuff out of the way. Let's just hop in and chat about my large eyeshadow palettes. Alright, so let's just dive in. Again, what I deem as a large eyeshadow palette are palettes between 16 to 23 shades. I'm not doing it based on like the size of the palette, I do it based on number of shades. And again, extra large palettes for me are 24 shades and up. I'll talk about specifically what my 2 extra large palettes are, but all of these for the most part are just large palettes. First up, we have the Midas Cosmetics Smoky Glow palette. I love this palette. This is one of those palettes that's a complete exception to the rule. This is 18 shades. 18 shades is kind of like my max of what I would typically be willing to spend money on. Really though, I feel like 15 to 16 is kind of my high spot, but 18 is usually where I can make an exception, and this was an easy exception. I love Hannah, I love the content she makes, I wanted to try Midas Cosmetics super badly, and this is just such a beautiful color story. I was super excited when it was coming out, and I love this one so much. I did so many videos with it. I've done at least one video with pretty much all of these palettes, if not all of these palettes, so just search my channel if you want to see specifics. Just type in like Butte Bean palette name and things will pop up for you. Moving on to Alter Ego, this is my Artemis palette. This is the largest palette in my collection and the first one of my extra large palette sizing. This has 28 shades. It is massive. This was sent to me and it's hard for me to say if I actually would have purchased this myself or not, just because this is so many shades. I typically don't enjoy palettes this large. There's a chance I might have purchased it anyways just because I really enjoy Alter Ego's formula. However, this one is a little bit different from their regular formula. The shimmers are still as beautiful and foiled and metallic as ever. However, a lot of these mattes are more of that cream to matte finish. From what I hear and understand from other people talking about it, Alter Ego is trying to replicate the Metropolis formula that Natasha Denona did. I guess she has kind of a cream to matte formula as well. I did like the formula. I don't like it as much as their regular mattes. These do take a little bit longer to kind of build up. However, they blend so seamlessly and easily. So it's kind of like a give and take. You have to pack it on a little bit longer, but they blend out so much easier. It's a whole thing. But I do like this palette. I enjoyed it. Again, I wish it was smaller. I understand why it's so large. It's because it's like duping a large palette, but I'd like to see some more smaller palettes from them in the future because this is just a lot. I'm not a huge eyeshadow palette person. That's just so many shades. It can be intimidating. And for me, I almost feel less creative when I have more options. My creative juices get flowing more when I have less options. I think of more ways to incorporate the fewer colors. I don't know. I think that's just a me thing though. I know a lot of people prefer large palettes. I do have a discount code with Alter Ego. It's Butte Bean in all caps if you want to save 10%. I do make a commission. Full disclosure, don't use it if you're not comfortable with that, but it will save you money and I appreciate it very much if you use it. My last one from Alter Ego in this category is my Daydream palette. This is also an 18 pan palette. This is supposed to dupe the Huda Beauty new nudes, I believe. I get so forgetful on what the palette is that Alter Ego is duping because I usually don't pay any attention. I do not pay close attention to Natasha Denona or Huda Beauty. This one does have 2 pressed glitters, not my favorite thing. It also does have a concealer in here because I guess the Huda palette also has a concealer in there. But aside from those 3 things, this palette is beautiful. The mattes are so stunning and rich. I love these mauve-y berry tones. These shimmers are so metallic and reflective and so shiny. I really like this palette. It's a really nice mauve palette. Moving on to Juvia's Place, this is my Magic palette. This is probably the oldest palette in my collection. It was a birthday gift from one of my best friends, Mackenzie, like probably 4 years ago. This has 16 shades, and not only is it 16 shades, but it's also just a massive palette. I did lose one. I dropped this palette one too many times, and this Yemoja shade is like pretty much gone. I really like this palette. I almost feel like I'll keep this one around simply just out of nostalgia. Like, I love that this was a gift from my best friend. I love how long I've had this thing for. My first experience with Juvia's Place shadows was this one. I was so in love with this when I first got it. I still think it's a great palette, but it's just not completely my speed anymore as far as the colors go. The shimmers are all pretty. I just wish there was a better selection of mattes in my opinion. Like, I don't like that we just have like orange, pink, warm brown, purple, blue. I don't know. I feel like it's a little all over the place with the mattes, but it is a really cute palette. I really like the shimmers in here. I don't know what I'll do with this come declutter time. I guess we'll just have to see. Moving on to BH Cosmetics, this is my Weekend Festival palette. This is the best festival palette they've done. They've done like 3 or 4 at this point, and this was the first one, I believe, and it's for sure the best in my opinion. I feel like it's such a good ratio of matte to shimmers. We have really good variety of tones in here. It's really colorful without it just being a typical rainbow palette. It's really, really cute. I haven't played with this one in a while, but it's really pretty. I really like this one. I kind of wish they would bring this one back because I know a lot of you still want that one. And my next one is the BH Cosmetics Royal Affair. This was actually a subscriber gift because I talked about how I missed out on this and you happen to have an extra and sent it to me. You providing you're watching this. I don't like to name names because privacy reasons, but it's a really pretty grungy, earthy palette. It's super, super cute. I actually created really colorful looks as well if you just kind of focus on like the pink berry, this like chartreuse color. It's a really fun, versatile palette. I had a great time with this. This was a really cute one. BH did a great job with this palette. I feel like with BH Cosmetics, they either nail their color story or completely miss the mark. There's not usually an in-between. Next up from Oden's Eye, one of my favorite brands. I have the 2 Alva palettes right here. Let's just talk about the first one first. These are 16 pan palettes. This is a beautiful, just like warm, pinky, neutral kind of palette with the pop of yellow. It's super cute, super beautiful. The mattes blend out so nicely. They have such a good amount of pigmentation where I feel like it's not overwhelming for beginners, but it's also not like lackluster for people who are more advanced in makeup. It's just like a great formula. The shimmers are so reflective and beautiful. Some of these have kind of a duochrome effect. They're so beautiful. I love Oden's Eye. I can't get enough of them. I have a discount code with Oden's Eye as well. It's Butebean in all caps. It saves you 10%. That one is also an affiliate code. I will make a commission, so again, no pressure, but I'm thankful if you use it, but only use it if you want to. The second one is their Alva 2 palette. This was part of their summer collection this year. This just came out like a month or 2 ago. It's so pretty. I feel like they needed a bright, colorful palette like this. It's such a good addition to their range. I just love it. There are 2 pressed glitters in here. Not my favorite thing, but I will say their pressed glitters are so insanely finely milled. It's not like chunky ones like in some other palettes. I still wish they were shimmers rather than glitters though, if I'll be honest with you. But again, the mattes are so beautiful. They're very vibrant. A lot of these are like pastel neons in a way. Like they're super vibrant and poppy, but they're also pastel at the same time. They're very cute. We have beautiful shimmers in here. I just love the variety. I feel so inspired with this palette. It's so much fun. Next up from e.l.f. Cosmetics, this is the e.l.f. J. Kissa To The Rescue palette. I don't like this very much. I did not have a great time with this. I felt like a couple of the mattes were okay, like the yellow was fine. I think I used like both yellows and maybe this green. Those were all okay, but I had a lot of issues with patchiness with the blues and the purples. I might have had an issue with the red, I can't quite remember. The shimmers are nothing to write home about. I was not super pleased with this palette, if I'll be honest with you. Not my favorite thing. It missed the mark for me. Performance-wise, it just was not what I needed it to be. Next up from Makeup Revolution, this was a subscriber gift as well. I got this around Halloween time last year. This is the Haunted House palette. I liked how this wasn't just typical, like, I don't know, what you would expect from a Haunted House palette. It wasn't just like black and orange like Halloween colors. It's more of like deepened berries and creepy purples. There's still some oranges in here. I don't know, I felt like it was a fun twist on typical Halloween colors and I thought it was really fun. This was my first time playing with Makeup Revolution eyeshadows and I had a good time. I thought they were nice. I have heard from you guys that Makeup Revolution's quality is very hit or miss, like extremely hit or miss, so I haven't really felt compelled to try anything else from them, but I was really pleased with this one. I thought this was a fun experience. Next up from Certify, this this is the Affinity 2 palette. Such a beautiful blue-green palette. This is up there as far as quality and just love with the Oceanic and my Whale Song from Menagerie and Ace Beauté. This is such a beautiful formula. I feel like it's so pigmented, but it blends flawlessly. The shimmers in here are just so wet looking. They're not insanely like shimmery glitzy, but they're just very wet looking and beautiful. There's a couple really stunning duochromes in here. I think it's these three. I really like this palette, and I also really like the layout. I really like this long kind of vertical palette style. I think it's really nice. This is the only thing I've tried from Certify. They've piqued my interest a few times, but this is the only one that really called to my heart. Next up from Nomad, this is the Orient Express palette. This is their largest palette that I own. This also has 18 shades. For me, this is a really pretty holiday-esque palette. This did come out in the summer, but I'm probably going to utilize this a lot around Christmas time. I feel like I could create really pretty looks for like a Christmas party. Not that we're really doing Christmas parties this year, but even just staying at home watching movies with Zane, maybe I'll throw on a pretty Christmas look. I thought the formula was nice. We have a really pretty array of colorful mattes and also neutral mattes if you're scared of color. We have really pretty shimmers in here. These two in particular, Venice and Simple and Pass, are such beautiful, glitzy, reflective duochromes. I love them. This was a fantastic palette. I like that you can create so many colorful looks with a lot of variety, but it's not just a typical rainbow palette either. They did a really good job with this one. I do have a discount code with Nomad. It's BeautyBeam10. I do not make a commission off of that code, but it does save you 10% if you feel like using it. Next up, I have 4 palettes from Dido Cosmetics. Let's just go over my 3 Muse palettes from them first. This is the Hera palette. It's a really pretty blue, red, pop of yellow, like primary colors kind of vibe, but also make it deeper. It's really pretty. I had a good time with this one. All 3 of these Muse palettes have a pressed glitter in them, and they also have kind of some of those sequensy shadow formulas where it's mattes with sparkle in them. That's not my favorite formula. Give me either matte or shimmer. I don't want that weird in between. But out of the shades that aren't the pressed glitter or the sequins, the mattes seem to blend nicely. Not my favorite matte formula I've ever worked with, but it's not like bad. I don't really have any major negatives. I guess I would just prefer maybe a little more blendability. I don't know, they weren't horrible to work with. The shimmers are all really pretty. They aren't anything to like write home about, but they're cute. Again, they're not like the most metallic, insane shimmers, but I don't really have any major complaints either. This just isn't my favorite thing I've ever used, but it was fun. I like the colors. The color stories, if anything, are like the best part of these palettes. Next is the Athena palette. This is my favorite one from Dido. It's just this beautiful, swampy, murky green color story. We have a few pops of warmth in here. This one I also like because I actually don't think this one really has those sequency formulas. This top one might have been sequency, but I've played with it enough times that all the glitter's kind of dusted away. So at this point, it's all just like matte shimmer and one pressed glitter. I really like this one. This one's really nice. I found this one to be the easiest to work with, and I don't know, I just had a great time with this one. And this is the Aphrodite palette, the third and last one of the Muse palettes. Again, we have the glitter, a couple sequin shadows, mattes, shimmers. For one, this isn't my favorite color story. I don't know, there's just something about it I don't love. It feels a little chaotic. I don't know. And I'm cool with like a fun, interesting color story, but to me this doesn't feel very like fun and interesting. It just feels random. This purple down here is horrible. It's so incredibly lackluster. It just dusts away into this weird gray color. Not my favorite. Overall, I just didn't have a great time with this one. Performance-wise, like nothing was really bad except for this purple down here, but I don't know. I just didn't have the most enjoyable time with this palette. There's just other palettes I'd prefer to pick up over this one. And finally, from Dido Cosmetics, this is the Galaxy Shade palette. This one I'm not super thrilled with. I've only used it once and I only used it for the shimmers. Again, there is a pressed glitter in here. The only mattes in here are just like these 2 browns and this yellow. Everything else is either like a satiny shimmer or more of a like glitzy shimmer. I really like the shimmers that are in like these marbleized planets, but I don't know, I don't like this palette enough to pick it up just for those shimmers, you know what I mean? This probably will not survive the declutter coming up, but we will just have to see. Nothing in it performed bad, it's just they're not really formulas and colors I really want to reach for, if that makes sense. Next up from Mousse Beauty, this is the Impressionism palette. I really like this one. This was such a happy surprise. This is the first product that released from this brand, and I'm so happy I got the opportunity to try it. I loved it, and then they gave me a discount code for you guys. That one is BeautyBeam in all caps if you want to save 10%. That one is also an affiliate code, so I will make a commission, but don't feel pressured. It's just there if you want to use it. I was so happily surprised with this one. I didn't have high expectations just because it was a brand new brand. I just didn't really know what to expect. I wasn't expecting horrible things, but I wasn't expecting to be blown away. The mattes are so pigmented and they blend like freaking butter. The shimmers, while they're not like glitzy sparkly, they are so wet and smooth looking on the eyes. They're so, so pretty. They just make my eyes look so glassy. I really like it. I love the color choices in here. It's very just, I don't know, it's very inspiring. It's very colorful without it being a typical rainbow, which I love that. You don't need that many typical rainbow palettes in your collection, you know what I mean? This is very unique. It offers something a little different. I just really enjoyed this palette. I had a great time playing with it. And finally, the last brand. I told you I don't have like an abundance of large palettes. The medium palettes is definitely where my collection is the strongest. But we're on to Spoiled Lips Cosmetics now. This is the Dear Diary palette. This is the most recent one they sent me. It's a very cute pastel palette. We have mostly mattes, 2 shimmers, 1 pressed glitter, which I don't love pressed glitter, but Spoiled Lips seems to like their pressed glitter, so it's just something I'll have to get used to if I try their palettes more. I had a really good time with this. Their formula that has the lips on top of the shades is so beautiful. It's so pigmented and it blends so nicely. I found that this pastel palette had enough uniqueness and depth to it that didn't just make it a typical rainbow pastel palette. This is very fun. I quite enjoy this one. It was a blast to play with, and I'm sure I will play with it some more. This is the 24 karat Gold Bar palette. This is kind of just like a neutral palette with pops of like pinks and purples. It's very cute. Again, it has that formula I like with those lips sitting on it. Everything blends really nicely. The shimmers in here are very metallic and reflective. No pressed glitters in this palette, thank goodness. I don't like that there's this giant bar of highlight, but I'd probably like it more if it suited my skin tone. It's just a little too deep for me. Overall, I thought this was a cute palette. It has enough of a unique twist that doesn't just make it a typical just neutral palette that we've seen 100 times, but it's also not anything that extravagant in my collection either. I like it, but I don't love it, if that makes sense. Next is the Be Royal palette. This was part of their first palettes they sent me. They sent me 3 palettes right off the bat, and this one I was really excited about because I thought it was one of the prettiest color stories I'd seen in a long time. However, it's not a great formula. As you can see, there's no lips on this one. It's a completely different formula. It's just very muted. If you're down for muted pastels, like very just light wash of color kind of deal, you might like this, but this doesn't really build up to be any kind of impact. There are 2 pressed glitters in here. The shimmers in here are very lackluster. I'm not thrilled with this palette. Love the color story. I think it's so cute. I got this around springtime and I was just pumped for some like grungy pastels almost. I thought it was gonna be really fun, but not my favorite. And finally, the last palette from Spoiled Lips. This is the Oh Abby palette. This one, again, it doesn't have those lips on it. This is a different formula in my opinion. I feel like the mattes are okay. I just feel like I have to build them up a little bit more to get good pigmentation. And the shimmers, again, aren't really anything to write home about. They look okay on the lids. They're a lot better than what's in the Be Royal palette, but it's just not my favorite. And again, 2 pressed glitters. This is actually my second and last palette that I would put in my extra large palette category. This is right on that cusp of like large and extra large because it has 24 shades in it. Overall, it's just not my favorite. It's just kind of like another rainbow palette and it doesn't really have that much special about it to me. But it wasn't horrible. Just not my favorite. So yeah, that was my large and extra large eyeshadow palette collection. I hope you enjoyed this video. I ask in every video, but I want to know every time just in case anyone new watches, but I want to know what your sweet spot is for eyeshadow palette sizes. My sweet spot is like 9 to 12 shades. It's like my absolute favorite. 18 is kind of like my absolute cutoff and it has to be something really special. Beyond 18, I have to I don't know. There's not much that makes me want a palette over 18 shades. What do you think about the palettes I talked about? Do you have any of them? Are you interested in any of them? I want to hear your thoughts and experiences. If you made it to the end of this video, leave me an animal emoji that is a large animal. And if you liked this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're not already, please hop over to my Instagram. It's BeautBean. Follow me there. I post every single day. And don't forget to subscribe. I'm posting most days here as well. Please make sure you're staying informed with Black Lives Matter. There's a link in my description box that will take you to resources and ways in which you can help. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Okay, bye.